Welcome back to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast coming to you from Colombo's Cafe and Tavern down in Dogtown. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer John is present.
Huggies, is Huggy there?
MIA.
MIA again.
Obviously, I'm down in our
He's not happy
Naples
with his contract.
studio one more time. Say it again, JJ.
He's not happy with his contract with no mic, so he said,
He's got to talk to producer John. He's the businessman of the operation. Obviously, I'm down in our Naples studio one more time, and this will be our last Monday taping. So if you want to come see us moving forward, starting June 20th, we're back on Thursdays down at Colombo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown. Before we go any further, Tommy, JJ sent us a message earlier today that he wants the floor, and he wants the floor early.
Yep.
and I hate this actually.
What do you got?
I hate it.
No, I don't think it's the. Is it the?
No,
He's
it's
got something he wants to get off his
it's
chest.
against my grain to do this, but I found an interesting story about cicadas.
Oh,
Come on.
you've been bitching about this for
I
months.
know,
Or for a month.
But this is kind of interesting because they are hypersexual and they lose their gonads because they're getting STDs. And I got a picture. Can you see that? That's his gonads gone, dude. They fall off. These crazy cicadas are sex addicts. That's all I got to say.
So that out of all the interesting facts that we brought up over the month or so, this is the one that finally got you.
Yes, there's the only interesting thing about them.
Well,
Okay.
it is.
I didn't
JJ.
know that
Just
they're
them sitting in a
hypersexual
tree.
is funny.
Them sitting in a tree making noises and that
It's not
exciting.
that exciting.
They're-
Right.
But when they turn
I
into
read
zombies,
that article.
You wrote the
They're
article.
hypersexual zombies. Hypersexual zombies with no gonads.
I don't know how good you can see that picture, but it looks terrible. I feel sorry for the little bastards.
So how does this process work? Do you know?
No, I just know that they're spreading disease.
No, I do know.
STDs
I
again.
studied it.
fungus, yeah.
There's something, Danny. I think there's something about if birds eat them, they get a little goofy too. They're like
Yeah.
they're on
Yeah, they're
mushrooms or something.
hallucinating.
Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
mushrooms to birds.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one
You know-
interesting thing about them.
Birds have been a lot more alert lately.
They've been flying into houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Funny as hell.
Yeah. I saw one doing a
Birds are out
dance in
there.
my yard. It was weird.
Birds are out there being funny as hell.
Pretty soon we'll see Tommy out there eating cicadas now, looking for the hypersexual zombies.
Stop. No, I ain't doing that now. Come
Actually,
on.
they're not. They're in Illinois, and I think these poor bastards don't know it's coming. It's heading this way in St. Louis, though. I
What, that
believe
they're losing their balls?
that they better they better put condoms on because they're going to be losing their gonads if they don't.
That ain't right.
Exactly what the article said. Their gonads fall off and is replaced with a fungus.
Yeah,
Then
a white fungus.
It makes them hypersexual zombies.
How good you can
Like
zoom in
none
on
of
that.
JJ's proud of it.
Dude, I think it's.
He just keeps. He's got a picture
I'm
of it on.
hoping
It's
it
a
wipes
screen.
them all out and they
it's-
never come back. in
It's now
7
his
years or
screensaver.
13 years. That's my screen. That's my screensaver.
Well, every year they have that. They'll have like a recap of the year. Which city has the most STDs? And St. Louis is always in one or two. So it just translates over to the cicadas.
Actually, we're gonna be in first place again for that.
No,
They're
we'll
gonna
get
add
about
to the numbers.
We'll get like 1 billion more on top of what we already got.
That's insane.
I like the fact that they might be hallucinogenic to other animals.
Yeah.
Tommy's gonna be on his yard eating
that's a
freaking
benefit.
cicadas now.
So they aerate your yard, and then they provide little fun for the other end.
Maybe you should make a recipe
birds and
with
whatnot.
them. Make one of those recipes.
I'm
see
more,
if-
I don't know.
I'm more curious about the scientist that found this out. Was he just watching some cicadas fly by and their gonads fell off, and then
It was like at the butterfly house, or one of the it is like one of the legitimate facilities in St. Louis that studies such things. So it was like a major scientific discovery.
Where do you come up? How do you find this stuff?
I read the same
they
article.
did.
I didn't find it.
Oh, I read the.
You're the one that brought it up.
I must have not read the entire article. I stopped at the gonads falling off. That's all I knew.
That's all you
That
need
was
to hear.
horrifying.
Yeah,
And bring it
was.
up.
It is. I'm kidding.
How about? Did you guys hear the thing about Martha's Vineyard?
What
They,
happened?
What's up?
they ran out of weed. They're out of weed. So they had two dispensaries on the island. And they're going to be out of weed by, I think one's already out of it, and another one's going to run out within the month. And it has sent the whole island into turmoil. So apparently there's a law that says you can't take it overseas. Well, since they're an island, if you drive in there, it's considered going overseas, so they can't deliver any more weed in there. And I was reading the article. There's an 81-year-old lady that was mad as hell.
What are they going to do?
They're not going to have any weed. It's going to be a very, very sad island.
I think we need to go there and start growing it for them.
Well, just a morose island. Everybody's just going to walk around mad.
No, I think we need to be a greenhouse salesperson. Sell greenhouses and grow their
Isn't
own
that where
weed.
all the presidents go to vacation?
The Obamas
I think they live there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an 81-year-old lady that was very upset that she's going to have to drive 45 minutes now to get legal marijuana. And I think a lot of people, that was one of the things that that drove them away from doing marijuana, is the fact that it was illegal and people don't like breaking laws. And this poor lady's now got to drive 45 minutes to get her medical marijuana.
Let's get back to the cicadas.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a curious story. That's good. You know,
That's the story that Huggy's covering right now. He's up there.
Right.
If JJ's not interested in your story, he calls people in, acts like he's, and just completely checks out on you. Oh, let's just change the subject.
No, I'm just.
Oh, dude, sometimes you act like you don't even want to be here. What else you
Tommy,
got,
I'm
Danny?
gonna have to vent a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to vent.
Bad plane ride?
We started this podcast because of the way law enforcement is treated worldwide, but for sure in our country. And we wanted to bring back the good things that law enforcement does and make it cool to respect law enforcement, which should be done. 99.9% of all officers are phenomenal heroes that put their life on the line. I think it was May 17th. It was the House of Representatives took up a vote. It was supposed to be like just a kind of a no-brainer vote, that to condemn the calling for defunding of the police and to condemn violence against police. It should have been a 400-0 vote, but instead it was 317, I think, to 61. 61, led by the squad. And we don't get political, but this is in the papers. AOC, and I'll explain why I mentioned her name. 61 of them voted against this resolution, just condemning violence against the police and condemning defunding the police. They couldn't bring themselves to support law enforcement. And AOC represents New York City, which New York City leads the entire country in officers that laid down their lives in the line of duty with over 1,100 officers. So in her own community, she couldn't give it a yay in support of law enforcement. And that's why we exist. And that's why the blue wave's going to go across America, and we're gaining ground slowly but surely. And that's why it's cool to support law enforcement. I'm sorry I had to vent.
It's okay. Vote for Tina Forte.
Who's that?
She's running against AOC in the next election.
I think one of our buddies donated to her, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say his name because he might not want to be political, but Tina Forte, let's go.
I like that we don't get political. JJ, and I appreciate you saying that, but she couldn't give us a yay on something that
she wasn't alone. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, 61.
No, there was
kind of a lot.
60 others.
They haven't learned anything, Danny. They haven't learned anything.
We got one
this
here.
whole country's, every city's in peril because of it.
And what's Tommy always say to end the show, Tommy? What do you always say? It's
Communities
true.
that support the police or support law enforcement are much safer places to live. And I mean, you got to be blind not to look around and understand that statement.
Danny, you got my ire up.
Look
It's
at
all
you.
in
You
good
I know.
mood.
I didn't
You
mean
mad again?
Yeah.
You ready to honk?
That
No, I don't
makes me
honk.
so mad.
I mean, but going back to New York City, JJ, I just read something that someone in New York City gets stabbed every 52 seconds.
Damn.
Don't you think that poor bastard ought to move?
He's the
He's
one
sitting on the
somebody.
corner.
At least find a
One
new
somebody.
girlfriend.
He's sitting on a corner.
Nickname is Swiss. Swiss got
I'm
stabbed
sorry.
again.
Is he Swiss Army knife or Swiss cheese?
Jeez. He needs a Swiss Army knife to protect himself.
Hey, Danny. I think
Yeah.
JJ made a request of you to get to his zen before he starts forgetting stuff and
Right.
Gets 3 or 4
It's the
beers in.
perfect time, Tommy. It's the perfect time. We just got our ire up with that story about the law enforcement not being supported. So it's a perfect time to bring down the house with some JJ's in.
True heroism. No. I got that down, though, actually. Nobody trips over mountains. It's the small pebbles that cause people to stumble. Pass all the pebbles in the path, and you will find that you crossed the mountain.
Oh,
All right.
Wow.
I like that one.
Wow.
Come on, you got to throw it out again. One more time. We never let you get away with
Come on,
one.
Jay.
I think it's getting old doing it twice, but nobody trips over mountains. It's the small pebbles that cause you to stumble. Pass all the pebbles in the path, and you will find that you crossed the mountain.
Look at you.
Boom.
Twice.
Now that's
True heroism.
Go, baby, go.
True heroism.
JJ.
True heroism is remarkably sober, undramatic. And that's all I know.
It was beautiful.
what JJ's in his zen. So that's the secret.
Right. I thought
Too
you
early.
were going to come in with something like "Life is good." Just keep it short.
Actually, Danny, I think I'm going to turn the Zen over to you because you've given me the last two. No, Mary.
No, Mary Michelle was
gave
last
the
week.
one. You gave me two good ones, though. And I don't know who the
Thank
guy is that had said it. Is he a friend of yours? Is that really a person that like is famous?
I don't know. My sister-in-law sent that to me. Jan, she's an avid listener, and so she sent it. And
So we're giving Jan credit.
Sure. It's like
Yeah,
Mike
so Jan-
Mateo or something like that.
Right.
Never heard of him.
Speaking of pebbles, I tend to sprain my ankle a lot. And
Yeah.
I was out in the yard the other day. We were supposed to meet last Thursday, all of us. I was out in the yard and stepped in a hole that my dog had dug and sprained my ankle. And I've gotten like 40 sprained ankles, and the ankle turned inside, and it stayed there. So I had to kick it. I had to kick it back out. Right now I'm limping. I'm limping a little bit today.
Man,
you've sprained your ankle more than any human being alive.
Oh, yeah.
you got to pop it in place.
I pop it back.
You know who had that happen at the Masters, the pre-tournament? It was Finau.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he pushed it back in place. So you're in the same boat.
Right,
as
I had
Finau.
to, because I was mowing the lawn, so I had to, and it wouldn't come out, so I had to then fall down because I didn't fall. So to kick it out, I had to fall down and then use my other foot to kick it out.
Let me just ask you this, though. You have a son, capable son, hardworking son.
Yeah,
You tell that son of gun he needs to cut your grass.
he was working that day.
You had to cut that day? You couldn't wait till he got off?
He's working. He works hard. He worked hard every day.
I don't know. I think
I
you
love
should.
cutting the grass.
What?
It gives me. I love cutting my lawn. I do it. I'm that guy. It doesn't grow a half an inch. I'm cutting it again. I'm the guy.
yes, you like your grass, don't you? You're one of them yard guys.
I am one of the yard guys. Yep.
Would it bother
Always
you
mow.
if little kids were like if you had neighbor kids? Would it bother you
No.
if they use your yard because it was
No,
so nice to
no.
play ball in? Okay,
No, I love it. That's why I do it.
just in case somebody wants to play ball on it.
I like it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, I'll
like
give you
it.
that.
No, I have no problem.
I am not
I'm not the
a grass
crabby guy.
person.
I'm just.
You know what producer
What,
John
Jay?
and I were talking about yesterday, Danny,
Yes. What?
is the evolution of boozing and how you do it. And
Yeah.
John, just take it all away for a little bit because you had me rolling.
Well, we realized that when you're, in your early 20s, you go out and you just talk about, the girls you like or what you're going to do or, go to a ball game. And there's always older people at the other end of the bar talking about their pensions and their aches and pains and their friends that are in the hospital. And we always just thought that that's never going to be me,
Right. Right.
And for but as you go, then you start talking about, when you get a little bit older, you talk about your kids and,
Right.
and tuition and whatever.
Baseball.
But you just, you become that those other people and you don't even realize it. But it's just life. But, we're trying to go back to going out drinking and just talking about
But you know what hasn't changed?
what
His beer is still good.
Yeah, it is.
I am beer.
Beer is good.
It's the best substance.
It's
on
the
My,
one
planet.
my dad was a big day boozer back in the day, and I was like, God, how do you start drinking at like 2? And
No.
man, I just dig me some day drinking nowadays.
In bed by
That's it.
8.
Yeah, you get
First
home.
pitch,
Yeah, no.
I'm at home.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Belly up to the bar. I always have a long neck at the bar.
You sure do.
You have a long neck in bed.
You sure do.
No pun intended.
You bring that thing everywhere you go.
When you cut grass, you
Belly
have
up,
a
to
long
the
neck.
bar with, belly up to the bar with producer John and talk about those New Balance extra wide size 15s they're coming out with.
Yep.
Strong.
They'll be on my webpage.
Yes, it will.
So
Producer
later,
John,
go
Yes.
ahead, Danny.
Go ahead.
are you sitting on anything over there? Are you sitting on a newsroom.com over there for us?
I am.
Well, in the future,
I'll be
get
ba-
with
I'll be back.
Video Chat. We're going to have some music, a segue into the newsroom.com. It needs to have some high octane energy music
I'm with
for
you.
what you bring to the table. So we will be on that.
I'm
What
the
do you got, John?
I'm a producer. I'll make those decisions. All right, this is a really good one, I think. This happened in 2006 in the Phoenix area. It was Christmas Eve, and a young man, I think he was in his mid-20s, he didn't show up at his parents' house. He and his girlfriend didn't show up for Christmas Eve dinner. They tried calling him, and he didn't respond, so they got worried, and later in the evening, they called the police, and about 11 o'clock, the police went over there to his apartment, and they knocked on the door for a while, and this guy, his name's Ryan Waller. Ryan comes to the door. Eventually, it took him a while, and he slowly opens it. And when the first officer, responding officer saw him, he had a black eye, and he had a bunch of blood on his nose, like he'd been beaten up or something. So they finally get in the house. He lets him in, and his girlfriend is lying on the couch, dead from a gunshot wound.
Uh-oh.
Now Ryan says that she'd just been sleeping for a couple of days, but he was completely disorientated. He wasn't able to answer simple questions very well. So they figured that he was the suspect, that he killed his girlfriend, and maybe they were involved in some kind of a domestic thing. So they get him in handcuffs. They put him in a police car. They call for more police and the detectives. So they threw him in the back of the police car for quite a while until everybody got there, and then they finally got him to the police station, and the detectives got him in and started interviewing him, and he was completely disoriented. Like his answers to the questions didn't really make sense. He was completely confused. They just figured he was strung out or something like that. Well, 5 hours after they had initially put him in custody, the detective that was interrogating started really looking at the wounds on his nose, and they noticed that it wasn't just a bloody nose, there was a bullet hole in his face. So then they kind of just changed the whole line of questioning, and he stated what really happened was an ex-roommate who they had just thrown out, this kid named Richie Carver. He was the third, he was a roommate. He stayed here with Ryan and his girlfriend, but he got thrown out because Ryan thought he was making advances on his girlfriend, so he throws him out. Ryan came back that night. It wasn't Christmas Eve. It was the day before, the 23rd, with Richie came back with his dad, Richie's dad, and they knocked on the door. Ryan opened the door. Ryan figured out they were up to no good. He tried to slam the door. They pushed it open, and Richie shot him twice in the face. And then they walked over to the couch and shot the girlfriend. So all this time he's in custody, but he's got 2 bullets in his brain, and he just happened to be still, conscious enough to be walking around, but he had brain damage, from this. So
Where were these bullet wounds?
it went in through his nose. That's why they didn't understand. They didn't see a bullet hole in his face.
That's an important That's an important fact.
Yeah. So, and the bad thing, hey, it's, and one of the reasons I bring this up is it wasn't really the police officer's fault, because the guy is just acting weird. he's got a black eye and blood on his nose, but they figured it was a domestic thing that maybe, So the bad news is every minute they didn't get him, medical help, just furthered his brain damage, where he was in the hospital for 37 days and eventually he got out, but after that he suffered from all kinds of problems and he died like a year later. But he did, he was able to tell the police, it was Richie and Richie's dad. He, at least he was coherent enough to put that across. And then they ended up, and Richie and his father both got arrested eventually, went to trial, and they both, serving life in prison. But as a police officer, when you walk into a situation, you don't know who's who. You don't know who's the suspect. You don't know who's a victim. You don't know whatever. And the fact that he got shot through the nose, there wasn't an obvious bullet wound until they really examined it.
Whoa.
Hey, John, for a minute there, before you got to that part, I thought you were going to come up with some cicadas.
Yeah.
And just get loose in that.
Me too. He got shot in the nose.
JJ wrote down cicadas caused it.
Yeah, I didn't know what caused it, so I figured you ate some bad cicadas with their gonads off.
I need to look into this a little further because there may be a cicada angle. But I might have to see what year it was, 13 or
1914.
Yeah. So
Damn.
Anyway, just a crazy story. Not a particularly happy story, but the police did get to the bottom of it, and
So last week, a lady survived falling in an elevator 75 stories, and this week, a guy has two bullets lodged in his brain talking to the police and survives. This is pretty good, John.
And then Joe McCulla, who's coming up. We're well into the show. We haven't said who's Joe McCulla is coming up, but Joe McCulla is coming up, and he's got a story that Gail survived several shots to the head.
She had a hell of a day.
Yeah.
And this really and this whole incident that happened that I just described would not have happened if Campbell Security was on the case.
Absolutely. Corby, and so if you need your neighborhood, because he watches, don't they do patrol on your neighborhood, Danny?
Oh my God!
Campbell Security, see them all the time, don't you?
You know why? Because of all the defunding of the police, we need companies like that to step up now.
Yep. Private police, almost.
Yep, that's true.
And that's
It's true. It's our neighborhood.
Yep.
Just nothing against the police, but we realized they were so short-staffed. We hired a private security group to patrol the streets at night, and Campbell Security Group does it, and I can prove that they do a great job because I have Blink cameras on every corner of my house and in the windows and everywhere, and I see them drive by several times a night, every night, period.
So if you guys if anybody out there needs security, whether it's your neighborhood, your business, you need some assets protected, or CampbellSecurityGroup.com, CampbellSecurityGroup.com.
Tommy, you dug up some videos to talk about, didn't you?
Yeah, we're going to do a little new segment where we're going to play videos, show pictures of just recent events or whenever you get a video. And we want you guys to help us out. Send us videos that you guys know how to get a hold of us on the thebrightersideofblue.com or at gmail.com. And send videos. Soon we will have our website up, and we'll be doing them from there. But what we want to do is just react on some videos. And we've got 4 picked out today. And we want to do more. And then maybe this will be part of the show or maybe on its own. So the first one we're going to start out with is we found an interesting picture of an alien. This guy might be real, but he sure appears to be an alien. Look at that man. Look at the ear. Look at that. That looks exactly like an alien.
So 79 people let him probe him?
Yes. Talking to the cicadas. I think the cicadas got him.
Dude, I can see where he could convince people he was an alien.
Did you know that your ears
never stop
growing, right?
Neither does your nose.
Yep. This guy lives a couple more years. He's going to have trouble getting through doorways.
Dude, he's like a taxi cab going down the street with both doors.
He's going to have to go through doorways sideways. Yeah. And then if you know those
you better watch it, Tommy. He can hear you.
You know that Velcro that you put on that you hang pictures with. You know that you ever see that Velcro? You put it on one side of the picture and then the wall. He needs that on his head, one on the one ear, on the top of his ear, and then put it on his head and then tuck the ear in. use that Velcro and tuck them things in.
Well, he was pretty convincing. He let 79 people let him probe him in the anally. So that
is
he had a good
he had a good run.
Let me digest that for our listeners that aren't watching. Let me digest the headline. Texas man admits kidnapping 79 people to anally probe them while disguised as an alien.
And he's got some ears.
He looks like an alien.
You can't.
He probably could have convinced me.
I said,
okay.
He shows up and says, "Take me to your leader." You're taking him to the leader.
Right.
Look at them ears, dude.
What a freaking weirdo.
But how do you go from I'm an alien? So how do you convince people from the fact that you're an alien to probing them anally? Where does that come into the conversation? I thought it was always about take me to your leader.
Well, people just assume that if aliens come down there, they're going to anally probe you. It's like in every movie.
Everybody knows that.
Say, oh, okay, it's here. I'm going to get anally probed.
What movie was that? What movie did I miss?
All of them.
Everybody knows that.
E.T. was here for a reason.
I heard that like half of them had no problem with it.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
You can probe me twice, pal.
He sought the lonely. He sought the lonely. Look at
That's
them
pretty
ears.
bad.
But them ears, dude. They just. Yeah, he's gonna.
Now I want to get to the one you found of JJ's car stop when he was a rookie.
Here it comes, and then this gal's got a good angle on how police departments should hire.
You are the hottest cop I have ever been pulled over. And you were so respectful and so nice. You came over, you communicated what you needed, and then you were hot. See, if the police departments and sheriff hire more hot police officers, we wouldn't have violence anymore. Because all you would do is do what you did, just walk over and say, hey, let me see your driver's license and ID. And do that smile right there. Sir, you could bring peace to the Middle East. And I just want you to know, as I thoroughly watch you walk to your car and back, I just want to know, I could tell you work out, and I'm glad and I'm appreciate that God helps you to work out, and He did a great job on you. Yes.
I appreciate that.
That's JJ. That's JJ back in the day.
Hey, it happened a couple of times. I didn't get
Yeah, okay.
That's cool, JJ.
But there was, but now that we JJ later in the show, when McCulloch comes on, when Joe McCulla comes on, he takes a couple shots at the SWAT/HRT team, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
But so I decided to make you feel a little better, and I picked out a video. And this video is of a tactical team, and it happened in February, but they just released a video yesterday, I believe, and it shows the TAC team going into a bank, and really you can hear it. The announcer tells the story, so go ahead.
And deliberate shot through a computer monitor, striking the suspect in the center of the forehead, killing him instantly. Firing through barriers is
Between those guys. See him in them right between them.
Yeah. Done.
trained and routinely practiced skill by Lee
Laying
County
in the
Sheriff's
corner.
Special Operations Unit snipers. The .308 caliber bullet used is specifically selected due to its known ballistic reliability traveling through intermediate barriers. Immediately after the suspect was shot, distraction devices known as flashbangs were set off as the Special Operations Unit moved in to remove the hostages and confirm that the suspect was no longer a threat.
But I couldn't be more proud of the men and women of law enforcement today, my family members today, the SWAT team today. How you train is how you perform. And this is exactly what we train for. We train for worst case scenario. We train for hostage negotiations and what that means. Going from worst case to best scenario. This is a very unfortunate incident, but I will tell you, the 2 hostages being safe was our top priority.
Studs.
What do you think of that, brother?
That's, you know, that's,
Yeah, that
we
was
used to do that all the
That
time.
made you feel good, didn't it?
Yeah, I was guessing that's pretty bad.
You felt
That's
that
pretty
down
bad.
in your plums, didn't
I'll
you?
just say that officer, that SWAT guy that took that shot, I'd buy him a beer every day I saw him.
Shot through
That
the,
is a
the
bad-
video monitor.
Yep.
That is bad.
I mean, and those people look like they were pretty close.
And I have every faith in all the SWAT guys in the city of St. Louis. do the same thing.
Yeah, but aren't you? Do you think those hostages were glad that somebody called 911?
I'm telling you.
The
And
police broke away?
did you see them how they were all packed up behind the counter there?
Yeah.
And then there's just one guy with that whatever what kind of thing 308.
Yeah, the guy that took that shot,
308.
that is amazing.
Do you guys use those?
Yes, but I don't know if we would have taken that chance going through,
Of going through the computer?
I don't know. I haven't been on in a while, so I'd have to ask the guys that are working if they would. I'd like to show them this video and see what they think. But that's badass.
That was badass, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was.
And then the last one, the last video, we're gonna make we're gonna hear from this guy every week from now on. This guy's, he's the best, and he just puts things the right way. And again, he is an elected official, so he gets to speak a little differently than those that are hired. A lot of police chiefs are hired, and Sheriff Judd, Grady Judd, is an elected official that he puts it in a way that we can all understand.
Girls, how you like the game you're playing now? I don't know if they think we're playing. We're not playing. You too can sit in prison for the next 40 years. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you do.
There you go.
How much less problems would we have in this country if we had more guys like that running?
We were talking about leadership when we were with Jim Glennon,
right.
and that kind of stuff filters downhill. And he holds one of these press conferences every morning. So we're going to pick his best clip of the week, and we're going to hear from Grady every week.
Grady's the man.
Yeah, he is. Yep. And it's just that to me, he's always funny too. And I don't even know what the girls did, but I just like the fact that we ain't playing. He ain't playing no more. We ain't playing with anybody. Just go jail.
You know what? I bet I'd like to know the stats of crime in his city. I bet they're pretty good. Or not? They're good for us, not them.
Well, if I lived in his jurisdiction and I was thinking about doing something wrong, see a video like that, I'm not doing it there.
Right.
I'm going somewhere else where they're soft.
But I'd sure vote for him every time he ran for office.
There's another sheriff out there that's just like him, and I don't have this guy's name yet. Maybe we'll pull up a clip from him one time too. But he says the same stuff. What's it, Andy Griffin? And but he says the same kind of stuff. Well, he recently did one where they brought the cameras with them on a search warrant, and then they seized a bunch of money, and then they get back to the station and they do another shoot where they play a bunch of music and the sheriff's waving the money around. So not only did they do the warrant and arrest the guys, now they're taunting it that they got all this money. They're making videos and playing music, and Florida when they're elected, they act a little differently. And
the bank sniper video was from Fort Myers, Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. And Grady's down in Florida too.
And where Dan is.
Right up the road.
Yep.
There
Right
you
up
go.
the road.
Yep.
Right up there.
You need to get him on, Danny. Go visit him. See if he'll come on the podcast.
They don't play down here. You know?
There's your shark.
Hey,
Look at that.
Danny, you need to make a road
Careful.
trip and go see Grady. See if he'll come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
I
down and
think
see
I
him.
will.
Yeah. Just see how it goes. Just drive down there in the morning. Knock on the door.
He probably plays pickleball.
Tommy, we ready for an invigorating interview with Prosecutor McCulloch?
Yes, that was fun, wasn't it? We had a good time with Joe.
He's great.
And
I think he'll be on.
You
again.
know, it started out a little emotional, but then we got into it and really got to laughing. And Joe's just a great guy and he's had a great career. And it was fun talking to him. And so we're going to play that, and then we'll be back after that, and we'll tell you what's coming up next week. And so you enjoy our interview with Joe McCulla.
Welcome back to the Brighter Side of Blue from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern studio. We're honored to have a special guest today, retired sergeant, 20 years, Joe McCulla, currently the prosecutor of St. Charles County. Joe, thanks for coming along tonight.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Joe, last week, I think it was Tuesday, was the annual memorial breakfast down at downtown St. Louis, honoring all those that gave their lives in the line of duty. And that has to be kind of a special day for you, considering your father.
It was a special day for me, and this year marks the 60th anniversary in July of my father getting killed, so it kind of had a little special effect. And honestly, I thought this might have been the best memorial breakfast that they had, with the individuals going up there speaking about their personal experiences and everything like that. So a lot of it I thought came from the heart, and I thought it was the best breakfast that we had come to as far as people sharing their experiences and such.
A very special day. Tell us a little bit about how did your father get killed in the line of duty?
So back in 1964, my dad was a canine officer, and so he had a take-home vehicle, and we lived in the area of Goodfellow and Natural Bridge at the time. So he was on his way to work, and at that time he'd go down Natural Bridge to Jefferson or Parnell, and then make a right to head over to the Canine Division, which was up at 15th and Spruce, I guess it was, where the old Mobile Reserve used to be. So on his way to work, he heard a call for an officer in need of aid come out in the housing projects, where an officer stopped a vehicle that matched the description of a young lady who was abducted from in front of her parents' convenience store up on Leffingwell. The guy drove her around for a few hours. She tried to honk the horn and get some attention, whatever, but never did. When this guy saw her, he stopped her over in the 2100 block of Dixon in the Pruitt-Igoe housing projects. The guy jumped out of the car, attacked the police officer, and was able to get his gun. Prior to that, he only had a knife. So the officer, a couple shots were fired. The officer thought he was shot. He called back to his car and radioed for assistance, and my dad, again, was on his way to work. So my dad stopped at the housing projects to assist him, and him and another guy, Lambert Potts, got into a foot pursuit of the suspect. In an exchange of gunfire, it was actually a ricochet of a bullet that ricocheted off the ground, and a sliver of it hit my dad in the base of the skull, and so he was killed instantly.
And that was in 1965, Joe?
1964.
64.
July of 1964.
And one of the things in the Backstoppers started in 1959. So the Backstoppers was running this a little bit differently than we know how it's run now. Explain how they helped you then and then helped you later in life also.
Yeah, the Backstoppers, as you just said, was in its infancy at the time. So the Backstoppers did step in. They assigned an individual to you that was part of the Backstoppers. In our case, I believe it was Ed Schnooks that was assigned to us. And they helped out with the house payments for a while. They helped out with, they put on something every year, and we would get bonds for our birthday and for Christmas. And as time went on, I was the only one in my family that got $2,000 upon turning 21. They didn't really pay for the education or nothing at that time because, again, they were in their infancy. But my brother, in his last year of law school, he had run out of being able to get loans for law school. So the guy got hold of the Backstoppers, and as I understand it, Ed Snooks wrote a check to cover his last year of law school. Wow. So they stepped up for that, and then many, many, many years later, they were always there for us. If we needed something, we would call them. If we had a problem, if we couldn't do something. So at one point, as you guys know and just said, I went to law school, and about halfway through law school, I somehow was at a function with them and kind of explained what was going on and what I was doing. And so they stepped up and paid for about half of my law school, wow, which was awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And later on in life, my mom was in a nursing home for a number of years, and when she ran out of money, we went to the Backstoppers, and they again stepped up and funded some money for her to be in the nursing home.
That's
so again,
great story.
One of the great things about them, we're talking probably at that time 50 years later, they were still there, they were still helping us, and they still did whatever it was that we needed, so they never forget, and that's one of the big things about the Backstoppers that I think everybody needs to know. 50 years later, still there, still helping, still doing whatever they can to assist any of the families.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You just got emotional just retelling that story about how your father was killed. How old were you, and how much do you remember?
Yeah, surprisingly.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, bud.
Let's move on.
I was 7 years old at the time.
That's big. That's
So-
pretty powerful age.
Don't remember too much.
And then, so you mentioned your brother. So, and your brother, he was stricken with an illness as a youngster, and then he went on. He fought through that, became a prosecutor, and then you came on the St. Louis Police Department, fought through that, went through law school while you were on the police department, and held several tremendous jobs over the police department. Joe was one of the better policemen. He was very well respected. He came out as a sergeant, and then he went on and used that law degree that he worked. How long did that take you to get that law degree, Joe?
It took 3 years. I was very fortunate on the police department, and when I got promoted, I went to the 9th District. And when I went into law school, I was able to work permanent nights, 11 at night till 7 in the morning, and that allowed me to go to law school part-time from 6 until 10, 3 nights a week. So I would do that 3 nights a week, then I'd come to work at 11 o'clock if I was scheduled to work, whatever the case may be. And now that it's all over and said and done, I may have gone into the conference room about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and studied.
We don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, because you had to get that studying in.
I may have done that once or twice.
You had to get that studying in.
Hey, it was court preparation.
It was
Yeah,
court,
it's
it was
a law
court
book.
preparation.
It's a law book, and
It's
you're
a
law
book.
enforcement.
Yeah. Most of the guys that worked under me had way more time on than I did, so they didn't really need to be supervised too terribly much. And so I was able to get some studying and down there, and that helped a whole lot in my ability to get that law.
And that was the era in the police department where a lot of guys were going to school, and the police department was really working with them because we had the manpower that they could allow people to, maybe go to class while they're working, and they just gave a little bit more leniency and get your law degree. That was pretty cool. And then what's also
When you
cool-
came on the job, Joe, how many coppers were there? I came on in '87. There was 2,200.
I was going to say there was well over 2,000. I would say there was probably about 2,200. I came on as a cadet in 1974. I got commissioned in '77, and I know there was at least 22 or 2,400 at that time.
Now there's 700 or 800.
So when
running
did
around.
you retire? In the mid-90s or
I retired in '98.
98?
Yeah.
And then one of your jobs on the police department was in homicide.
Yes.
And in talking to you over the years, you always had some interesting stories, and Joe was always a great guy to run into because he could tell a story, and he could have you giggling pretty hard. But what is your most memorable homicide?
It's funny. I was in homicide for a few years, but my most memorable homicide actually happened when I was in the 6th District. So there was a restaurant called Christo's up at Broadway and Riverview in the 6th District. It was a nice restaurant for those that came along later and didn't know the 6th District as we knew it back in those days. A very nice restaurant. And the uniform officers got a call to the Christo's restaurant about 10 o'clock at night one night, and they said, hey, one of our employees left. We came out about 10:30. She left at 10 o'clock, clocked out when we got out there. Her car's still there, and she was taking home some chicken and dumplings, and those were still sitting on top of the car. So something has happened to her. So the uniform guys called. The detectives, myself and Eddie McGee, were partners at the time, and we went down there to investigate. And so, of course, the first question you ask is, anything happened here at the place of employment? So the owner told us that the place of employment just a few days earlier had fired a gentleman who was stealing some prime rib or a ham or something like that. And the owner walked back into the kitchen at the time, so he threw it in the salad bin, which is what Marilyn Wilkins was, the woman that was missing. That was her thing, and she said, hey, don't be throwing that in my salad bin, getting me in trouble. So he got fired for that. So when we learned that, we got his address, which was out in Kinloch, which was a community in North County. And my partner, Eddie McGee, and I went out there to search into it. The first house that we went to was a vacant house, but the neighbor next door said a guy by the name of Willie Luckett, who was the person that got fired, had lived in that house but moved around the corner. So we went around the corner. Right as we pulled up, Willie Luckett, his girlfriend, and another gentleman were pulling up in a car at the same time. The other guy took off running. He went into the house, went out the back door. We couldn't catch him. But we got Willie Luckett, and we got the girlfriend, and we talked to him, and they said they just came back from picking his girlfriend up, and he'd been there all night. We checked with the people inside the house, and they said he was there all night, and we couldn't see any blood or anything on him, anything like that. So we interviewed, talked to him for a little bit, and then left because we didn't have anything to talk on him. So the interesting part about the story is the city of Jennings was notorious for you didn't want to get a bench warrant, you didn't want to get arrested by the city of Jennings. They were just notorious for
Holding you forever?
holding you forever.
Yes.
So what it turned out happened is Willie Luckett and a guy by the name of Bruce Kilgore actually did kidnap her, even though we talked to Willie Luckett, did kidnap her, grabbed her off the parking lot, took her out to Kinloch in an alley, got her out of the car, stole the rings and everything like that, and then slit her throat, cut both jugular veins, left her laying in the alley. Just minutes before we stopped them in the car. They got nervous because we were out there so fast. They got nervous because she was in an alley just a block away from his house, so they thought, well, if we they find the body out here, they're going to know it was us. So they actually went the next night, got the body out of the alley, put it in the trunk of their car. But they were so afraid of Jennings, now you'll see why Jennings is in there. With a dead body in your car, they went to Jennings Municipal Court and paid a speeding ticket. With a dead body in the car. And then they went to Art Hill.
Didn't want that bench warrant.
They did not want that bench warrant in Jennings. And then they went to Art Hill and they dumped the body. So the body was found the next morning on Art Hill. We did an investigation. The pawn shop got some information, put out about these rings. One of the pawn shop owners called us, and we turned out to be a cousin of Willie Luckett. So we went out, we arrested him. The guy by the name of Bruce Kilgore, he confessed to doing it all, but said Willie Luckett slit her throat. He confessed. We got them both warrants issued. They got convicted of murder. Bruce Kilgore got sentenced to death. Willie Luckett got life without parole. He's still in the penitentiary as we speak. But the final part of all this is in 1999, 13 years after he was convicted, Ed McGee and I went down and we were witnesses to the execution. Huh. And I assure you he died a much more humane death than Miss Wilkins did.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So the people that get on there talking about the inhumaneness of the death sentence and stuff like that,
The process.
Not nearly as bad as what she went through.
And when you work a case like that, you get how the family felt, and you get to see those pictures, and you get to see that scene, and you know the facts, and there's a part of you that just like, I think you're like, what happened to him was a good thing.
It absolutely was a good thing, and there was actually an article in the paper the next day talking about blood on our hands for anybody that's in favor of it, and I wrote a response to it, but they didn't respond to it or whatever. But I basically said the unfair, because they were talking about the unfairness that he got the death penalty and Willie Luckett didn't, and I said that the unfairness was that Willie Luckett didn't get the death penalty also.
Exactly.
Right,
It isn't
exactly.
the other way around.
Exactly.
So I just checked before I came down here, and Willie is still alive and well and in a penitentiary.
That's a very good thing. And then one of the other things that you've mentioned a couple times already is where you grew up. And on this show, we've mentioned Goody Goody and the Murder Mobile. And give us a little bit about what it was like back then rather than how we refer to it now.
So, yes, Goody Goody, I heard you guys talking about that, especially I think JJ talked about it one time or whatever. I grew up just a couple blocks north of Natural Bridge in Goodfellow. And Goody Goody was my second home. The grade school that I went to had their ball field right behind Goody Goody. That's where I learned to play baseball and where I learned where we played soccer. I didn't really play soccer, but that was for the kids that couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, that's not a real sport anyway.
That was for guys that can't do anything else.
Non-athletic.
But anyway, went to Goody Goody all the time for a cherry Coke 2 or 3 times a week. Across the street was I think it's a convenience store or something now, but that was a place called Ed's Whitefront Barbecue, best barbecue in town. My brother used to get paid once a month in the summer when he worked down to the ballpark, and he'd take me there on Fridays when he got paid so that we could have some barbecue. But the biggest thing, JJ, the Murder Mobile. The Murder Mobile.
I didn't nickname it. I just
Original.
I just repeated. I'm repeating.
The original site of Ted Drew's.
Really.
Are you serious?
The original site of
South
Ted
Side?
Drew's.
That's a trivia
See?
question. Nobody knows that.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
I didn't tell you. He told me that
Yeah.
when we were talking, and I saved that
The one on
you.
South Grand?
Did you see JJ's face?
The one in South Grand, but
Really?
it started because Ted Drew's is from Pine Lawn, which is the next.
So Ted Drew's cleaned up that neighborhood.
Yeah. Ted Drew's left the neighborhood
Wow.
and went down. After,
I think they need to
Ted
move
Drew's
back.
left.
I think we
went down.
start a campaign to move
That's
Ted Drew's
unbelievable.
back there.
That really is good, Joe, and girls.
That's the commercial for Ted Drew's.
Yeah, they're going to be sponsoring Ted. Get on down here, Ted.
Bring your ice
Bring us some
cream.
concrete.
Can we get Artie on
Your
there?
ice cream.
Yeah.
Get Artie B
We
on
can
Ted
still
Drew's.
go to the Goody
Close
Goodies
the
and
deal.
eat. I believe it's still open.
That's amazing. That's a
Hey,
great trivia
that?
question.
Somebody
It's
snitched
not-
me to ask you.
Huggy
about,
just said it's closed. Goody
your
Goodies is
dealings with the old SWAT team. I guess they were called HRT.
The
And
most
apparently
useless
you may
squad.
have-
The most useless squad on the police department.
Oh,
Really?
Hey, Jack, cut all this out.
The most useless.
Cut it out.
Perhaps it's gotten better under new leadership.
It has.
there you go.
Okay.
It has.
But in my day,
Well, that was a part-time team. Now it's
they
a
were
full-time SWAT team.
They were
Well
useless.
trained.
I could tell
Hey,
you
JJ, quit
2
interrupting
stories.
them.
If
Take
I
your
could,
ball beating.
One story I'll say real briefly that we called them out twice. When I say we, again, I'm talking about Ed McGee and I. One, they actually chased the guy into the 6th District station and shot him in the lobby of the 6th District station. Ed and I were coming down the steps from this bureau. We chased the guy into a apartment, and we called out the hostage response team, and they said, he's not there. You can't find him. I said, we chased him in here. Can't find him. So they're leaving, packing up. Guy falls through the ceiling. Okay? Useless.
That was a small.
Missed 'em.
That was a part-time team. They were from different districts.
Months-
Mobile Reserve came around. They made Mobile Reserve.
Months later.
Mobile Reserve.
Months
came in
later.
the SWAT team.
Months later, we get a call. We respond again. Ed McGee and I.
We
You
still
notice Ed
talking
McGee
about.
and I were
We
talking
still
about?
talking about SWAT team.
We got to
We're
get
talking
Ed
about
McGee
SWAT.
on the show.
This is-
Lieutenant McGee,
we gotta
gotta
get him
on
on
the
the
show.
show.
Oh, you ain't gonna help me out. He's gonna hurt.
So we got a guy by the name of Eric Boyd. He kills his ex-girlfriend and shoots the new boyfriend. And so we find out who the guy is. We go over. We make 2 houses, one being his house. He's not there. Dad lets us in. We find the empty shell casings on the floor of his bedroom and new bullets. So we know he reloaded or whatever the case may be. So we don't have any other place to find him. So we're kind of driving around trying to find his car. He's driving this Monte Carlo, and the desk man calls us up and says, hey, just a short time ago, he got a parking ticket at 5119 Robin Avenue. So we go over to 5119 Robin Avenue, and there, sitting in the backyard, is the guy's car. So we know that he's in the house. So me and a guy by the name of Ray Menard take the back. Eddie and a guy by the name of Sam Brooks go into the house. The people in the house deny that he's there, even though his car is parked in the backyard. Luckily, we had been in this house once or twice before because they put an addition on the house from the kitchen that went upstairs to a second floor. But the addition also led to the front part of the original house, and you could come down some steps and actually come in behind you if you're in the kitchen. So luckily that we knew that, so we put some people on that, and Ed is working his way up the steps, whatever, and the guy lets go with a shot, and Ed fires a bunch of shots. Sam Brooks fires a bunch of shots. We get out of there. I run around, get into the house, make sure those guys are okay. Ray Menard stays out back. So we call for some help. The troops arrive, and one of the guys that shows up is Lieutenant Holliker.
George Holliker.
George Holliker, name
My
from
favorite.
Legend.
Legend.
a
True
legend in his own mind.
There's about some street logic to go down
Yeah.
here. There's about some street logic
Yes,
to come
there
in here.
is. So we're there, and we tell George what's going on, and he says, okay, so at the top of these steps in the addition, there's a 2-foot by 2-foot window. He says, somebody go throw a rock or a brick or something through that window. We'll figure out where the guy's at so we know where he's at upstairs. Smart move. So I go outside, and I find a half a brick because a lot of bricks are hanging around the 6th District at that time.
Find something.
And I throw it through the window, and nothing. Nobody moves or whatever. So we call out the world-famous hostage response team again.
Ouch.
Okay?
That was before they were full-time team.
World-famous hostage
We'll
response
stipulate
team.
to that, JJ.
The first guy that shows up on the scene, I'm explaining to him what's going on. That the guy's up here. And we think that he's confined up here, but I'm trying to explain about how you can come around to the back. And I'm telling him we fired a bunch of shots. Well, he says, "Stop. We're here. We got this. Just get out of the house." I go, "Okay, fine." So we get out of the house. They're talking to him for an hour. They're talking to him for 2 hours. They're talking for 3 hours. Finally, this is my favorite part. Finally, they decide they're going to gas him out. Okay. Finally, they decide they're going to gas him out. Okay, so they go back and they got their big rifle with the tear gas on it, and they're going to shoot it through this window that I threw the brick through earlier. They miss. They hit the side of the building. It falls down into the backyard. They gas themselves out of the backyard. They got to come running out to the front.
That's why they couldn't be a part-time team. They didn't train enough. They did not train enough.
So they talked to him for another hour, and then Bob Hock, who was the negotiator, and Tony Lakanuki, the name's pronounced Hock, not Hogg, comes out and goes, "Hey, the guy's dead." I go, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Well, how did he die?" I said, "We told you we fired a whole bunch of shots or whatever. Nobody told us." So again, can't
Lack of
shoot through a
communication.
window.
Oh, yeah.
Can't
You sure
shoot
he
through a
didn't die of
window,
boredom?
And I said I hope he didn't bleed to death.
Or you could have hit him with that brick you threw.
Yeah.
I think that's what got him.
Talk about that.
You could have got 3
He
days
was about
off.
to peek out, got hit right in the eye.
Yeah.
He did have a head injury.
All right, then. A brick to
I
the
think it's a
head.
cold case we need to look into.
Joe, really quick, you have to tell some good story about SWAT HRT.
Hey, let me just
or
defend
JJ
myself.
might faint.
That was a part-time team. Jay Cliffel had the foresight to bring the mobile reserve unit and make them the full-time team where they're trained properly. That's all I got to say.
I don't know that I have one because you guys know Larry. You guys know because I refuse to call him out ever again. So you guys know Larry Richards.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Richards was connected with perhaps the new.
No.
Oh, okay, still the old one.
Yes, that was the hostage response.
because I told him that I would never call them out. So one night, somebody called and said, we got somebody barricaded over. And when I was a sergeant in the 9th District, he jumped out of his chair. I said, sit down. We are not calling you. Okay?
We got
So
this.
I went over there. We took care of it. 20 minutes later, we're done. So
I always gave the SWAT team
Refuse.
members their, I don't know how many T-shirts they all own and buy,
Holy shit.
but they have at least 10 each. Everybody that's ever went to SWAT's got at least 10 T-shirts that say SWAT or something on it.
It's good.
They got
Right.
Oakleys, and and you got to learn the head nod.
Oh,
Yeah.
the head nod.
The head nod. Oh yeah.
Oh,
you know I'm telling the truth.
I'm wearing
yeah.
a SWAT shirt next week.
Oh, here, I'm going to come to JJ's defense a little bit and bust Joe's balls a little bit.
Thank you.
Were you part of the homicide division that had to wear a fancy hat and you had to wear the brimmed hat?
Fedoras.
And, yeah, fedoras.
yes.
With a cigar and come to the scene like,
Sal, Crum, and I were the only ones that refused to wear it, and we refused to have beepers.
all right,
Yeah,
there you
Okay.
go.
See, you would have went to
Yeah.
SWAT, and not would done
Yeah.
all that.
I
You
would
would have had done it. If you were in SWAT, you'd have known.
I was
wouldn't
asked
done
to go
all
to the
that
hostage
shit.
response team early on. I said, no, you don't train enough. I'll wait till you become a full-time.
Oh, yeah, right. I was a young
okay.
copper, and every time there was a homicide, and I was in the 8th District, so there was a homicide every night. And you'd call out for homicide, and they'd come up in their car, cigars, and those fedoras and their fancy suits, and walk real slow to the crime scene and tell everybody else to get out.
That's what they were supposed to do.
That's
I
what they're
know, but
supposed to
just
do.
rubbed me the wrong way, you know, the hats,
The fedoras came
freaking
out.
hats.
That was John Darty. He made you wear those.
Are you serious?
He absolutely made you wear
Yeah,
those.
Captain Speech was
stylish.
telling us that.
Yeah.
Because he's a legend, but I mean, those hats.
Absolutely
Cigars
made
help
you
the
wear that.
smell.
Cigars are supposed to do the smell. I think that was just an old thing there. And they walk around with their hands in their pockets so that they don't touch anything and leave their fingerprints.
Oh my God, you're
That's
talking
because
like a defense attorney.
That's because we are highly trained. We're not a part-time.
Right. Exactly.
Right. We're full-time now.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
One of the stories you've told over the years, Joe, is a legend. He's a retired Missouri Supreme Court judge, and I've heard the story over the years. And tell the story about George Draper. Go ahead.
So for those that don't know, George Draper, great guy, love him to death. He just retired, I believe, last year as a judge on the Missouri Supreme Court. Pretty impressive, especially in the lawyer world. Before that, he was on the Court of Appeals for Missouri. Before that, he was a circuit judge out in St. Louis County. But we all know him, at least I did, as a circuit attorney down in the city of St.
Right.
Louis.
Yes, that's how I knew him.
So I'll come back to the George thing because I have to set up the story here. So here we go again. Me and Ed McGee come into work one day.
Ed, come on over
How
here.
do we not book Ed McGee?
Come on, take my, please take my chair.
We came in and called HRT.
Yeah,
We should
take-
have
take
Ed
my
McGee.
chair.
He would have been easier on JJ.
Yeah, Ed, take my seat. buddy.
He's not. So me and Ed McGee come into work one Sunday morning, and they said, hey, you got somebody out at Normandy Hospital, a gal out at Normandy Hospital that got shot somewhere in the city. Now, why we have to go out there, I don't know, but got somewhere in the city. For you that don't know, Normandy Hospital is out on Natural Bridge Road across from Mumso. So we go out to the hospital, and we're talking to her, and she's been shot a few times, and she says the only thing that she can remember, 2 guys grabbed her. They took her down into the city somewhere. She doesn't know where, but there was a bar that had a red door. And that's the only thing she knows about the city. Well, there was a place in the 5th District called the Red Door Lounge, so we're thinking that's where it happened at. So we talked to her.
That's a clue for you guys.
So I know.
Oh, settle down, HRT.
I was just going to say, we got that right away. I'm not sure what HRT would have done. Okay, they'd have probably called a conference, talked about it for a little while.
Got a negotiator
Yeah,
involved.
got a negotiator, and she'd have wished she was dead. But anyway, she's still alive. And so we find out that she gets drug off the street, taken down to this house in the city by the Red Door, and she gets beaten senseless. They put her on this big piece of plastic, and they shoot her twice in the head. Wrap her up, carry her out to the car, throw her in the trunk of the car. They're driving around. She comes to. She finds a gun in the trunk of the car, okay, because they threw the gun in there with her. So she gets the gun, and she starts firing away. She doesn't know where she's firing because she's lost and all that kind of stuff. But the car starts swerving all over the place and finally pulls off the road or whatever the case may be, and she's out of bullets because she fired them all. And again, we're back out in Kinloch. They pull her out of the trunk, they put her on the ground, and they shoot her 3 more times in the head. Okay? They leave. She crawls army style.
Get out of here.
She shot 5 times she crawls army style to a house in the distance and gets their attention, and they call the police, and that's how she ends up at the hospital. So we're talking to her about all this, and in the meantime, I believe Berkeley finds a car on fire, all burned up. We go there, and we, the trunk has this big piece of plastic that's half burned up. You can see bullet holes coming out of the trunk of the car. So this is the car. So we get it towed down to the lot, and the only thing that she can remember about is one of the guys talked about getting stung by a bee and having an allergic reaction to it, and went to the hospital. So prior to HIPAA laws, we started calling around to the hospitals. We come up with the name of a guy that came in for a bee sting.
Not many people go to the hospital for bee stings now.
Yeah, and had allergic reaction. So we get that. We do an investigation. She identifies them. We arrest them.
Call HRT.
We did not call HRT. We just went out and arrested
She was
them.
later an instructor for the SWAT
Yeah.
team. Though.
So we get it, and turns out these guys were kind of like pretty big dope dealers and stuff like that. So she was afraid, so we ship her off to Detroit. And waiting for the trial to come up, we send her up there with family or something like that. In the meantime, McGee gets promoted and goes on about his Mary Sergeant ways, and I'm out there in the 6th District still.
Right, suffering.
Get a call from the Detroit police one day. They find her hiding underneath some clothes in a closet with a couple of dead bodies in the house. So we're assuming, don't know for sure, that somebody tracked her down and ended up wanting to kill her, but killed some other people instead. So again, shot in the head 5 times, still living. People come in, kill some people up in Detroit, still living. So she comes back to St. Louis. We're getting ready for the trial, but we still don't know where the shooting happened at.
Was her nickname Swiss Cheese?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we still don't know where the shooting happened at. So we're going out trying to figure out where the shooting happened at. When I say we, it's me. Now George Draper comes into the picture. He's riding shotgun. The woman is in the back seat, and we got a female sheriff riding in the back seat. So we're driving around North St. Louis trying to figure out where this happened at, and we're driving down, I'm going to say St. Louis Avenue, and she says, oh, this looks real familiar. I think it happened around here. Slow down, slow down. So I slow down, and we're looking at some houses. Well, we're all looking off to the left because she's saying it looks like one of these houses over here. We're out of the corner of my eye. I see something going on over here. So I turn to my right, and there are 2 cars flying through a vacant lot coming right towards us. They come off about a 3 or 4 foot hill into the side of my police car. So I'm thinking, who is this, right? So
I'd say Eddie McGee.
So George Draper is on the ground trying to climb up underneath the dashboard. The 2 gals in the back seat are screaming. So I got 3 women in the car screaming because George is screaming like a girl. And I tell them that all the time. Well, I know the worst place to be is inside that car. So I jump out of the car and I start flourishing these guys and calling them all kinds of names and stuff like that. Well, it turns out they were involved in an accident a few blocks away, and we're just chasing each other because one guy was trying to run.
Road
But
rage.
Road rage.
Road rage.
That's how people get killed.
Inappropriate.
Zipper
law.
merges.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we end up finding out where it happened at. The guys get convicted, whatever the case may be. But if you'd have seen, I mean, it took me like 20 minutes to get George out from underneath the dash.
I'm still
on that
astounded
case.
at the 5 shots to the head.
Well, you know what she
5
died
shots.
of? COVID.
Is she still alive? Do you know? Any idea?
I have no idea. No idea at all. Yeah.
That is funny.
She is a survivor.
Hell yeah. That unbelievable stories.
Yeah.
And then the one you get, and I guess as we roll down to the end here, but Joe was telling me we were talking. Of course, we ran into each other at a bar, and we were talking about the podcast. And I said, "I want to have you on, Joe." And he says, "I said, I know you, and I know a lot of his stories already, but he's like, oh, there's just one story." He goes, "My wife she gets on me every single time I tell this story." And she just doesn't wonder why I tell this story. And I go, I guarantee you this is funny.
We got to hear this one.
Yeah, go ahead. What is that? And then he started to tell me. I go, no, just save it for the podcast.
I think it's funny, which is why I always tell it. So were you guys ever around when they used to do the horde detail up on Washington?
I was in Vice for 5 years.
in
Plenty
Delmar?
of times, yeah.
Yep.
So, as you know, our good friend George Peach would get all mad about the hookers up there and
Larry
want you to
John-
do the dirty bookstore.
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson. And so they would do a detail, and I don't know if you guys ever did the detail, but they would bring in people from all the different districts, and they would have a couple guys assigned to report writing, a couple guys assigned to booking, a couple guys would be the arrest crew. They'd have a couple decoys, and they'd have some floaters and all that kind of stuff.
Tow trucks.
Yeah,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. So they got one guy to volunteer to be a John, and they were looking for a second guy. And cocky 6th District officer that I was, I'm in the back corner up on a table sitting back there, and they come in for volunteers, and I said, my mama told me to never volunteer for nothing. They go, guess what? You just volunteered.
Right.
Yeah.
So they hooked me up to this antiquated system, okay? I got the earplug in my ear running up here. I got a wire running down my arm with a button that I have to push with my finger so that they can record what's going on and everything like that. I'm thinking, holy shit, I can't believe that this is what I'm going to use to pick these people up. So they said, after they get me hooked up and all that kind of stuff, they go, okay, go out there and such a location, there's a school. Make sure that your arrest team is in place there. Whatever you do, try not to get the women in the car. Just get them identified, and then we'll come by and swoop down on them. But if you have to get them in the car, or they end up in the car, go behind the school here. The arrest crew will be there, or go up off of Euclid to this location. The arrest crew will be there. So go out there, make sure the arrest crews are in place.
And don't take your pants down.
Yeah. So
Had to throw that in.
I go up there and I check the guys behind the school on the east side of the stroll area, and they're in place or whatever. So I'm driving down Delmar to check the guys on the west side. But before I can get down there, I get flagged down by two gals. Okay, so they immediately hop into the car before I could do anything. So I'm thinking, shit, now I got them in the car here. So I got a rather large woman sitting next to me, and then next to her is a cute little gal, but got to remember, this is 1980, maybe 81. Mm-hmm. So she's dressed in a purple satin tube top, purple hot pants, purple shoes.
Come on.
Purple knee pads.
Come on now.
So
Was it Barney?
So she wouldn't tell me her name, so I referred to her as Purple. So I'm talking with them, and I'm negotiating with them, and we're going on and on and on. So finally, the big girl agrees that both of them will take me on for $30.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay. So, but I got to get Purple to commit to this. So I said, Purple, are you in with that? And she goes, what's wrong with your hand? So this is a hand I'm got the button here with. So I hold it up. I go, nothing. It's fine. It's all good. She goes, I said, well, you in or not? She goes, yeah, okay, I'm in. So I go, okay. So I got him.
Rest crew. Yep.
So we're up off of Euclid now, and they want me to go north of Delmar. I said, I'm not going north of Delmar. I know a place right around the corner here. We'll go around there. So I pull around there where the arrest crew is supposed to be. They ain't there.
Oh, boy.
It's me and the two hookers. Now, in my mind, I think every hooker carries a razor or a knife, and I'm going to get stabbed, and I ain't got $30. Okay? So we're in trouble, and I'm there by myself, and I'm pressing this button, and I'm saying, okay, we're here.
Yeah,
we're ready to have some
deal's
fun.
done,
We're going to
it's
go
down.
on. So as I'm doing that, trying to get some arrest crews there, the big girl undoes my pants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And after about 2 seconds, she goes, damn, baby, where is it? So I'm thinking, oh, man. So then the rest crew ends up showing up, and they're laughing their ass off because they just
They
heard
get to
this
hear
on
it,
the
right.
They get to hear it on the thing there, and the girls get out and they go, he was good. He had us really fooled. And I'm thinking, I was scared to death.
I got to
No
tell you, if I
idea.
was on that arrest crew and I saw those people and I heard this go down, I probably left you there too, just to see how this is going to how's this going to play out.
I'm just glad he said the girl in purple wasn't his wife now.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't say
His wife don't like
I
to
was
hear
getting
the
to that.
story.
That's why she doesn't like me telling the story.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the only one that's figured that out. You should be a detective instead of HRT.
SWAT.
But anyway, that was a fun night.
Yeah.
So
I
real
bet.
quick, I want to get to back to the Backstoppers. So your brother Bob is on the board, correct?
Correct.
And so there's going to be a change. Chief Patel is leaving after however many years he's been there. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that this is going to be a dogfight for this position. A lot of people would want that position.
It's an honor to take
It's
that
an
over.
honor to take that position, and a lot of people are going. So has Bob given you any clues? We won't tell anybody.
Bob has,
you
Bob
can tell
has
me.
not given me any clues. I think he would be a great choice under all the circumstances that we've discussed
Yeah,
earlier
yeah,
and
it's
stuff
pretty
like
neat,
that.
yeah.
That he could, relate to the individuals that he would have to serve. I know he has gone out a number of times and spoke with the people that have lost loved ones and stuff like that. But no.
And a long time process. And again, but a lot of people know Bob, your brother, McCulloch, who used to longtime prosecutor in the St. Louis County.
Yeah, St. Louis County for 28 years.
And how long have you been in St. Charles County now?
I've been a prosecutor out there for 1 year.
Okay, so
Actually, to
27
tell you the
more.
truth, when I went to law school, that was the game plan, was to be the prosecutor out in St. Charles County. But I ended up in private practice. The guy that was the prosecutor at the time turned out to be a friend of mine from way back when. So then I was in private practice, and that was too good to me to leave.
Right.
And then just recently, the prosecutor out there resigned. And so I had the opportunity to do it again, so I came out of retirement. I would have been retired for about 8 months from the practice of law also. And I think 13 of us interviewed for the position, and the county executives selected me, and then the county council approved me.
But as a prosecutor, it's something that you probably enjoy. You know, you can't say you came out of retirement, and the way prosecutors or some prosecutors are being just, I mean, there's prosecutors out there that have made trouble for the police, and your passion for the police, and from what I'm told in your office, it was a seamless transition from the person you took over. Great prosecutors out there, you didn't change a whole lot, and these guys just and that's why one of the things we keep saying on this show is that communities that support law enforcement, which is prosecutors too,
Yes.
are safer places to live. And getting behind you and your people, that I think that proves it.
You know, they absolutely are, and it makes a big difference. And one of the things that I always stressed when I went in there was that sometimes good people do dumb things, and you got to recognize that, and you got to realize that, and that's who gets probation or who gets a second chance or who gets a diversion or whatever the case may be. And then mean people do mean things, and those are the ones that go to jail. I think it's pretty easy to distinguish between the two of them. Other people find it very hard, but I find it easy, and that's kind of my philosophy in the prosecutor's
Now, is
office.
that something you want to continue to do? I mean, because it is a passion. Between your brother and you, is it something that you want to continue? I mean, I know you try to get retired there, but
Yeah, it absolutely is. As a matter of fact, because of being appointed with more than a year left in the previous term, I have to run for re-election, and so I have to run this year. And August is the primary, and November is the general election. But filing for the position closed at the end of March. Nobody filed against me, so I am.
You like your odds? You
I
like your
I
odds?
like my odds. If
we
I can
proudly
remember-
support. We
If I can-
proudly support our podcast. Proudly supports Joe McCulla for the prosecuting
I don't know. Ask
attorney.
JJ. You got it hard on
JJ can't
HRT
do
tonight.
that.
No,
No, he can't do that. Don't say nothing.
No,
You'll
I'm
get
just-
fired.
I'm going to
You're
say
still in
one
the PD.
thing.
Don't be
No,
endorsing nobody.
I'm not endorsing
Okay,
him.
I'm just.
I'm not endorsing, but I'm going to give him a SWAT shirt next time he comes in. I'm going to what size you wear.
Nice.
It's got to fit tight, though.
Medium.
It's gotta fit tight. JJ. Joe, good luck with the re-election.
Yeah, if I remember to vote for myself, I should be in
Yeah,
good
you
shape.
should be.
You should win
good.
1-0.
Okay, yeah.
1-0.
That's all I
Yeah.
need.
Unbelievable.
I
And you
need.
know what,
All right.
Joe, we're going to have you on because, again, if you don't mind, and bring your old partner, Ed McGee.
Yeah,
Retired
he'd be-
Lieutenant Ed McGee.
He'd be a great guy to bring along.
And I think one of the things that, and we always talk about that, is that when you go through the police department for a long period of time, it's a family. I mean, you come from a police family, but along those lines, you become partners and stuff like that. And just for our listeners, Eddie's in the audience here, and
think
he's
they're
here.
probably aware of that.
And they're like brothers. Joe and Eddie are like brothers. They've been like brothers. Eddie worked out at the prosecutor's office in the county under your brother Bob. Jimmy Mayer, another one of your partners over the years and a friend of yours, also worked out there.
Yes.
And it's just funny how that stuff works when you become a family and you really take care of people.
You know, you do become a great family, as you guys talk about this on the show all the time. You go years without seeing each other, but you pick up right back where you left off
100%.
at, and all the stories that you tell and all the people and stuff like that. It's always about your time on the police department. I don't think you talk very much about outside of it because
Right.
we have a unique job and a unique experiences that other people just. I can remember when I was on the street and I would go out afterwards and tell my buddies and stuff like that. After a while, they just didn't believe any of the things that I was saying
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
just
Shot
can't
5
believe
times
it.
in the head. And
Yeah, exactly.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with other professions,
Yeah.
selling, and those guys are killing it. A lot of those guys are selling insurance; they're killing it. But when you go to a party, nobody wants to hear how you nailed down an insurance.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But when we walk in, us knuckleheads, hey, what'd you do last night? Well, this gal got shot in the head 5 times. And then I called HRT and they never showed up. And that's much better to listen to than,
Yeah.
man, it's a home and life. I got him a $500 deductible. Oh, really? That's awesome.
Joe, thank you and good luck. Thank you.
Thank
for
you
coming
very
on the
much. I
show.
really appreciate
Thanks a lot,
it.
Joe.
Had a great time,
Appreciate the
Joe.
opportunity to be
Thanks,
here.
brother.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed Joe McCulloch, all the different ways he took us on that interview, through emotion, through unbelievable stories, all the way to being a warrior as a prosecutor. So I really enjoyed that interview.
He was great.
He was good. He was good.
And he was the 7 years old when he tells this story. I mean, that's when you think your father is invincible.
Right.
And for him to tell that story and go back all these years and feel, you can just see the emotion on him. It's pretty,
It
pretty
was
intense.
it was a neat interview. It was a fun time with Joe.
Yeah.
And before we get out of here, a couple things is just please just if you could just like our videos, our shorts, the podcast. If you can just find that thumbs up button, just like it, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, follow, tell your friends. We're trying to grow this thing. We're going in the right direction, and we appreciate all the support from all you guys. It means a lot to us. And we wouldn't be here without those guys that chimed in at the beginning.
Right.
And word of mouth has us moving up good. So continue to do what you do, and we're going to have some nice announcements coming up here. Jack and Rick are working on the web page. That'll be up soon. And another side note is Rick, who helped us with our web page, is helping Steve James with the portraits, and he's helping him put up a web page too. So hopefully we'll have that up soon, and we'll have them all up soon, and you can navigate your way through all that good stuff. So it'll be fun. And as always,
Thursday. You can cut that.
oh yeah, no, you're good idea.
Okay.
JJ's reminded me to remind everybody that we've moved from Mondays to Thursdays, starting on the 20th of June. We will be here on Thursdays. This is our last Monday. So come out and join us. We'll have some fun. And as always, communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live. Peace.
Peace.